Welcome back to Weird Stuff in a Can. Today on Weird Stuff in a Can we've got another pie. So yeah, Fray Bentos all-day breakfast pie. Now we've done already in this series quite a few of these pies, but the all-day breakfast variety is the one that I've been really looking out for and actually couldn't find for ages. I saw it in a B&M store and didn't buy it, and then when I went back it was gone, and it's been nearly a whole year. And now I found it. I stumbled on one of these the other day in Poundland for £2, so Poundland, and here it is. So we're going to test the Fray Bentos all-day breakfast pie. There won't be huge surprises here because we've done these pies before, and this all-day breakfast concoction here is probably going to be quite similar to those cans of all-day breakfast you can buy. Anyway, the description is Cumberland sausage 5%, bacon 5%, black pudding 3%, and beans 7% in a tomato sauce topped with pastry. So mostly sauce and pastry with a bit of sausage, bacon, black pudding and beans in it. Black pudding's an interesting inclusion. I quite like it. Not everybody does. I'm surprised they put that in there because it kind of does limit the market for this a little bit. Anyway, ingredients: tomatoes, water, wheat flour, which is wheat flour, calcium carbonate, iron, niacin and thiamine, haricot beans, palm oil, pork, maize starch, rapeseed oil, salt, pork fat, preservatives, sodium nitrite, potassium nitrate, sugar, oatmeal, pork rind, antioxidant, sodium ascorbate, yeast extract, contains barley, hemoglobin powder, that's going to be for the black pudding I presume, barley, potato, starch, wheat flour, acidity regulator, citric acid, herbs, onion powder, emulsifier, which is mono and diglycerides of fatty acids, spices, milk powder, honey flavouring. Honey flavouring, I presume that's something to do with the bacon maybe? Spice extracts, herb extracts. So quite a list of ingredients, but most of them are the kind of things you'll find in sausages or black pudding or bacon anyway. Directions. We've got to put this in a preheated oven. It's going to be gas mark 7 for me this time because I've got a gas oven at the new place, until the crust has risen and is golden brown. I'm going to slightly deviate from these instructions and we'll see what that's about in a moment. To open, remove lid using a robust can opener. We highly recommend both the Brabantia Essential line and OXO Good Grips openers. Place open can on a baking tray. Now I've got an OXO Good Grips one. It's one of these ones that cuts through the side of the seal here and leaves no sharp edges. Except last time I did that, and it was on one of these pies, it left a needle-like metal shard in my food. So I won't be using that one again, but I will be using my trusty Brabantia. Satisfyingly easy to open there. And the lid comes off in one go. And again, we've got this weird hole in the pie. Now, some people have told me in the past this is a vent. It definitely isn't. This is a defect because I've opened these pies before and most often they don't have that. So what's happened here is this pastry has done something weird during cooking. Because it is already cooked. This is a cooked pie inside a can because the canning process involves cooking. So it's cooked pastry, but it will rise again. Oh well. We'll do the best we can. We're going to do something different with this pastry anyway, actually, because I'm going to take it off and bake it separately, which is something people recommended in previous videos. So I'm going to have a go at that. Because we already know how this pie will perform in terms of baking, I think it might be quite interesting to test out that idea where you take the pastry off, bake it on the side. So we'll do that this time. So yeah, inside of there is a oily residue. Actually, I think there's a piece of pastry that's actually sunk down there. So we'll have to dig that out as well. Anyway, I suppose we should have a sniff. It smells tomatoey. Tomatoey. I think the spices must include paprika, probably for the beans. It smells a bit, yeah, it smells a bit kind of goulashy, sort of soupy. Anyway, let's get this to the kitchen and cook it and see what it comes out like. So here is the plan. I'm going to try to dissect away this pastry and bake it separately. So I think probably going around the edge is a good place to start. This is only a pie that has pastry on. Oh gosh, that's not going to work. Plan B, I am determined to do this because I think it will result in a more crisp pastry. So what we'll do is turn the entire pie out, since it seems to be set in a kind of monolithic block. Come on. Wow, it really doesn't want to come out, does it? Okay, now I think this is the point where some people are going to find that pretty grim, but it is what it is. So I think what I'm going to do, we'll just kind of scrape off the fillings that are meant to be in the pie. And I don't think these are going to need as much cooking as the top does. So we are breaking the recommendations here, but it's in the name of science. This is what some people have recommended to do with these pies. There's a bit of crust there. Oh no, it's just a little thin wafer of it. That's fine, that will just have to get mixed in. So there are some fragments of crust in there. That's the little bit of the crust that's got the defect, and you can see actually what's happened here is the pastry is just buckled so that it doesn't really fit in the tin. Right, making a right pig's ear of this. So I'm just going to make sure I've got all of the filling components as best as I can separated from the crust, defeating the object of this whole thing, which is meant to be kind of quick and easy. Right, so a little bit of neutral vegetable oil just so I don't stick the pastry to the tin. And then this crust is going to be baked separately from the rest of the pie. Yeah, you can just see there's too much pastry there. What's actually happened is it's buckled. Never mind, we'll see what happens. Now the other thing people sometimes recommend is baking it halfway and then cutting the top part of the crust off so the soggy bit underneath rises again. We'll test that in another video, I think, on a different pie. So that crust is going to go into preheated gas mark 7 oven for 25 minutes. We'll stop halfway and add the rest of the pie. Meanwhile, since this is a breakfast pie, I'm going to make something a bit breakfasty to go with it. So I've got a little bit of leftover mashed potato here, mashed sweet and regular potato, and a shallot. And I'm just going to chop up the shallot nice and small. A little bit of oil, and we'll just get that shallot going in there. To this little bit of potato, I've just added some chili flakes, a little bit of garlic powder, like half a teaspoon of chili flakes, maybe a little pinch of garlic powder, and about half a teaspoon of sage, a little pinch of salt, and those onions, which are now fried and got a little bit of caramelisation on them. Okay, now I think we might have 2 pieces. Give it a little squeeze, and then get them into that frying pan. And we'll keep the heat really low because I just want these to kind of crisp up and warm through a little bit. They really don't need any cooking as such. In readiness for the midpoint of baking the pastry top, I'll just cover the top of this pie with foil. Now, I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this through the oven door, but the pastry is rising, and it's rising quite nicely this way. Don't know that we're going to end up with very crispy pastry because it's still probably got quite a lot of moisture content from where it was stored in the can with the rest of the contents. But there it is. It's kind of weirdly rising and puffing as we watch. Just to continue the breakfast theme, I'll take these potato cakes out onto a warmed plate. We'll have a sunny side up egg. Right, after the fullness of cooking time, here's what we've got. So let's assess this pastry. So it's still quite soggy. I'm not surprised because it's been in a can and it's the same moisture content as the contents of the can. However, it's not quite as doughy as it would have been if it was baked on top of the pie. So let's have a look. Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit more pastry-like. I'm going to say that doesn't make a massive difference. The contents of the pie are sufficiently warmed through. I thought the sauce would be a little bit more liquid than that, but there it is. So, okay, well, let's dish some of that up. And pastry on top. So, kind of almost works. While we're just waiting for that egg to finish, I will just eat that, which I think is a piece of sausage. Could be. Can't see anything in there that I would identify as bacon unless that's it. No, it's just a bit of congealed sauce. So beans, the beans themselves. Quite sweet, actually. Right, anyway. Lovely sunny side up egg. And that's some all-day breakfast-ish thing. Let's get that to the table and give it a taste. Right, well, let's assess this. So the pastry, definitely a bit more firm when it's cooked that way than if it's cooked on top of the pie straight in the can. Not sure if that's worth the bother though. Right, let's see if we can identify some components in here. So there's lots of bits of sausage. That looks like it could be a bit of black pudding. Let's give that a little taste. Indistinguishable from the rest of the sauce. And the sausage, peculiar sort of texture. Peculiarly dry, spongy texture. But again, flavour is not really all that distinct from everything else that's here. And bacon, I'm not even sure. Well, not sure I can see anything in there that I can identify as bacon. No, that wasn't it. No. No. There is a faint taste of smoky bacon flavour in here, but I can't identify anything that I would say is a piece of bacon. So there it is. Well, anyway, try it with a bit of the crust. It's all right. There's an odd sweetness to it. Quite, I guess that's that honey flavouring maybe, or that honey extract or whatever was in there. Really kind of strange stodginess to this one. Those are quite nice. Another bit of black pudding there. Texture's not bad for black pudding, but it doesn't really taste of very much. And as I say, I couldn't find anything in there that I would confidently identify as bacon, unless that's a bit there. No, just another bean. I don't know about the bacon. It's in there somewhere, but it was quite a small percentage, wasn't it? So that was Fray Bentos all-day breakfast pie. Not really much of a pie. It's more of a kind of weird stew. Not unpleasant, but not really hitting the mark in terms of being a pie. Now, of course, I should probably put my hand up and say that dissecting it and baking it separately like that might be partly to blame. That was just an experiment that other people suggested, and I thought it was worth a try. And it has made the pastry definitely firmer. There's less of that kind of really soggy, wet pastry layer, which, interestingly, some people regard as a feature rather than a bug. I mean, obviously not horrible. Here I am eating it. However, I'm not a fussy eater. Nice and warm. It's relatively tasty. A little bit on the sweet side. Tiny bit kind of homogeneous on the flavour of the filling. But yeah, that's all right. So there we go. That was Fray Bentos all-day breakfast pie. Weird stuff in a can on atomic shrimp. I hope that's been interesting. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.